This is DRF Race of the Day. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRF Race of the Day for Thursday, November the 11th. 11-11 is race number 8 at Aqueduct. Let's throw up the field for a nice little entry-level allowance race scheduled for 1 1/8 on the inner turf. You can play this race with DRF Bets, and you can download free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Access them, handicap along with us. Mike, this is a pretty interesting race. The 5 My First Grammy is entered main track only. I think one of the keys to this race is the pace. And as we throw up the pace projector from Timeform US, you'll note that the 10 Ranger Fox might finally be able to take advantage of his speed. He's been chasing fast paces in his last 2. Maybe he can control it this time around.
Yeah, I guess maybe he can. It would certainly be to his advantage, I guess, if he could make the lead here as he stretches back out. Maybe the excuse for him last time, Dan, is that, that stakes race sprinting was just too tough for him. Overall, I'm not thrilled with this horse. I don't think he's that good, but maybe getting to the lead helps.
St. Joe Louis, the number 1, goes out for Chad Brown. Arad Ortiz off of this race. He was the beaten favorite in his last 2. Maybe had an excuse in this one at Saratoga. We see him swinging to the outside in between horses. And although he doesn't change leads in the stretch, Mike, he is in very tight all the way down to the wire.
I mean, there's some traffic here. It doesn't really look like he's compromised by it at all. To me, he had a clean run while he was between horses, never got stopped, had a shot at this thing. Can't quite get up, and you can see that it's just the kind of race where felt like everybody was sort of surging at the end. He couldn't get up. I thought he ran only okay. I actually felt like his first 2 starts were pretty good, Dan. I don't like his last 2 starts, and if he's going to be the morning line favorite, I'd be shocked if he was the favorite in this race. But if he was, I wouldn't bet a nickel on him.
He does run well fresh. He is coming off the 3-month layoff, and the winner of the last race came back to run 3rd and a 2 other then at Kentucky Downs with a 90 buyer. King Cause is a 4-time winner, the number 2. Just draw a line through his last race. I'm not interested in the dirt line where he was eased. Okay effort, 2 starts back. Let's watch that race at Saratoga. It's a race off of a lengthy layoff for trainer Mike Maker, and he's right in contention as the field turns into the stretch. Understandably, tires late. All things considered, Mike, a good effort.
Yeah, I thought he ran really well in here when you take the layoff into account. Actually made a pretty early move into what was a solid pace here over yielding ground. He's going to get run down by his stablemate there, Atone, who would come back and run really well in his next start in a much tougher race. I think he got beat by a pretty good horse there, Dan. You have that layoff to sort of factor in. His final 4 turf starts of that abbreviated 2020 campaign, they were all really good efforts. I think he has a chance to make the lead in here. I think he's a pretty dangerous horse.
And you're right about Atone. He came back, ran 2nd with a 92 buyer and a 2 other then. Hidden Enemy, the 3, goes out for trainer Steve Asmussen. He just missed in this race at Belmont on September the 18th. The non-winners of 1 other then restricted for 3-year-olds. And we see the son of Galileo rallying on the outside, and he is just going to miss the bob.
Yeah, he's just going to come up short here. He doesn't really have any excuse either. Got a really good trip and ride. I thought Luis Saez perhaps gave him one of the best rides in the race. Then he's going to outfinish a couple of horses who are back in this spot. But the pace just wasn't fast. And I think Saez noticed that, got this horse into range, made the first run. And you could see there through the stretch, he had every chance to win. He just got outfinished by, I guess, a better horse.
Number 4, Ombre, 8-1 on the morning line, goes out for Barclay Tag. This horse's lone win came over yielding ground, but he exits a key race at Saratoga. Couple next out winners. Sifting Sands would return to win the Better Talk Now Stakes with an 89 buyer. This horse showed some speed in that race, and his tactical speed might be his greatest asset.
Yeah, I think that gives him an advantage. And the fact that he's lightly raced, too, I think is something that you want to take into consideration with him. He could certainly take a step forward here. That last race at Saratoga, another blanket finish. It felt like everybody had a shot at it. He was right there. Just got outfinished at the end, but all in all, I thought he ran okay. He could get a good trip here.
The 5 My First Grammy has entered main track only, so we'll move to the 6 Amano, who downed 3 next out winners when graduating for a $75,000 tag. Let's watch Amano benefit from a fast pace at Saratoga. The runner-up would come back to win a maiden special with a 90, then would place in a 1 other then with an 89. Maybe all he needed was a little drop in class to get the confidence booster, Mike.
Yeah, maybe he needed that. This was also his first start off of a layoff. And it was cutting back in distance too. They tried a couple of or three longer races with him last year. And it just didn't work out. Maybe the shorter distance helped. The drop in class certainly helped. And maybe he's just getting better as an older horse as well. Dan, he has to improve again.
Space Launch finished third last time out, right behind Hidden Enemy in that bunched up race at Belmont on September the 18th. He can be a little bit closer to the pace, though. I wonder if he was a bit too far back last time.
He might have been. He did save a lot of ground, but they did rate him early in that spot, and then he was, trying to catch up. I felt like he was another one in that field, Dan, where he had a real chance to win it through the stretch there. He got a seam to run through. He got through it. I thought he had every chance to win. Just got out finished at the end. I don't know what to make of him anymore. I thought his debut when he won his first course start, I thought he was pretty good that day. I thought he got a good trip, but I also thought he ran well. I don't like his form since then that much.
Regal Speaker was a really nice find for Danny Gargan, a New York bred that was campaigning at Tampa Bay, Delaware, at Monmouth. Gargan got control of him and just put him in the right spots, those New York bred condition races, and he got through his two other than last time out. Let's watch this effort on September the 30th. All in all, Mike, I thought this was a good trip. He does swing widest turning into the lane. He's going to roll these horses down. This was not the strongest field of New York breds that he faced, so he's got to step up in class, but he did it on a very respectable 88 buyer speed figure.
I thought he ran well here too. I agree with you that he got a good trip, but Saez just seemed like he rode him with a lot of confidence in there, Dan, and the horse kind of did the rest. He came wide. He had a good finish. That's two races in a row, where he just ran really well. I feel like he's a horse who's improving. I also like the fact that his win two starts back was over this distance. I think that gives him a little bit of an advantage.
The beaten favorite from that September 18th race, where Hidden Enemy finished second and Space Launch finished third, was the fifth place finisher, the number 9, Never Explain, for Shug McGahee. And again, this looks like the typical McGahee horse, a late bloomer that's going to improve with maturity and distance. And he also fell far behind in that race. He came wide into the stretch, and it looked like he was really moving at the end.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I mean, when I watched that race back, and I know he was a beaten favorite in there, it just, to me, I felt like he got the worst ride in the race. I'm not sure why Jose Ortiz decided to take him all the way back, but I mean, he didn't even try to go forward with him at the start, Dan. He rated the break, he took him back to last, and he just sat there as they crawled in front of him. I actually felt like he ran deceptively well there. And I also feel like he ran way better than it looks 3 starts back. In his first start on this circuit up at Saratoga. Man, did he run. Several of these horses were also in that race. He ran the best race that day by far. I know it was a big price. He just happened not to win with the trip doing him in. I almost have to give this horse another chance if he's going to be 10-1.
Ranger Fox is expected to be a pace presence, the number 10-1 on the morning line for Johnny Velasquez. Johnny Terranova, lone win, came going 7/8 of a mile, had a very nice pocket trip winning that race. And the one time they tried to let him go long around 2 turns in the Better Talk Now, he pulled very hard. He ended up in a good spot in behind the pace, but just didn't have anything left for the stretch drive. Last time out in the Allied Forces, he was in against a pretty sharp horse. That winner would come back to run second in the Carl Place with an 87 buyer. He's going to be close to the pace. There are some distance concerns.
There are. I'm happy to give him a little bit of an excuse for the last one because that was a good field. I hear what you're saying too back in the Better Talk Now. A little bit headstrong in that race. Overall, the trip was pretty good. To me, he wasn't even close to good enough to contend in there. I know he won with a solid figure 3 starts back. That was a miserable field. I don't know, Dan. I just don't think this horse is that good. If he's going to be 10-1, I'm not going to sit here and argue with him. But if he takes money, he's not for me.
And completing the field is the number 11, Quid, who actually cuts back in distance from a 1.5 mile race. And he really didn't have much chance the way that race was run. It was controlled by the front runners. He was far back, and I thought he tried really hard to be 4th. That being said, after 14 starts, I'm just not sure how much improvement this horse can give us. Distance won't be a problem. He should run on late. I think a minor award is his ceiling.
I agree with all that stuff. I mean, his overall form is solid, and he has figures that say he'd get a piece of this. And if he's a good price, you want to use him somewhere, that's fine. I'm not going to use him on top.
Top pick time for our Thursday race of the day. Mike's going with the 9, Never Explain, for Shug McGahee, 10-1 on the line.
I just think this horse deserves another chance, Dan. Again, I thought he ran really well 3 back. I thought he had a terrible trip last time. They got to try to get him closer to the pace this time.
I use him as well. He's my 4th selection. I'm going with Mike's 2nd pick, Regal Speaker, who's going to have to prove it now out of the New York bred ranks. 9-8-2-4 for Mike, 8-10-1-9 for me. It's the Thursday race of the day, the 8th at the Big A Good luck.